Tea. Ian sat at the festive table, surrounded by family and friends, unable to relax. My wife Jessica and I were celebrating our 10th wedding anniversary, and she had organized a grand family dinner for the occasion. Among the guests was her mother, Anna. Our relationship had always been strained, and I felt her piercing, appraising gaze on me. Anna was an attractive woman in her 50s, with a perfect figure and impeccable taste. Even now, sitting across from me, she looked simply stunning in her elegant cocktail dress. I involuntarily stared at her but immediately averted my eyes, catching the mocking look of my father-in-law, Richard. Jessica, noticing nothing, chatted merrily with her sister and brother-in-law. They reminisced about childhood, school years, first dates, family traditions and stories passed from mouth to mouth. But I felt like an outsider at this celebration of life. As if these 10 years of marriage didn't exist, as if I still remained a stranger in this family. I was distracted from these thoughts by the clinking of glasses. Jessica's father was making a toast in our honor. I smiled and clinked glasses with my wife, trying not to meet Anna's gaze. For some reason, in her presence, I couldn't shake a strange feeling of awkwardness and vague anxiety. The evening was coming to an end. The guests were leaving, full and satisfied. Jessica and her sister were engrossed in discussing a new pie recipe. Anna and I were left alone in the kitchen. She was helping me clear the table and load the dishes into the dishwasher. The dinner was wonderful. Anna broke the silence. "You have a talent for cooking, Daniel." I looked at her in surprise, not believing my ears. In all the years we had known each other, this was perhaps the first compliment she had paid me. "Thank you," I mumbled. "Jess helped me." "Oh, I know my daughter has many talents, but not in cooking," my mother-in-law laughed. That melodic sound sent shivers down my spine. Anna took a bottle of grape water and poured a generous portion into her glass. Then she poured me some, gesturing for me to join her. I hesitated only for a moment. "To the anniversary couple," she proclaimed, and we clinked glasses. The water was crisp and refreshing. I involuntarily licked my lips. "You know, I was a bride once too," Anna said pensively, swirling the glass in her hand. "The first years of marriage were not easy. Passion gradually faded, disagreements and quarrels appeared. But Richard and I managed to preserve our love, going through all the trials. That's the secret to a happy marriage." I listened, holding my breath. Never before had Anna been so frank with me. Her velvety voice enveloped me, immersing me in a trance. I didn't notice how my glass emptied, and my mother-in-law immediately refilled it. "Tell me about your parents, Daniel," she suddenly asked. "Jessica said they divorced when you were a teenager." I frowned, remembering those difficult times. My parents constantly fought, settling scores with each other, and I found myself caught between two fires. Their divorce was a real blow to me. "Yes, that's right," I replied hollowly. "My relationship with my father fell apart after that. He left the family, started a new life. And my mom, it wasn't easy for her to raise my brother and me alone." Anna sympathetically covered my hand with hers. Her fingers were surprisingly soft and warm. "I'm sorry you had to go through that. But believe me, divorce is not the end of the world. Sometimes, to find happiness, you need to let go of the past." Her words, my lightheadedness, her gentle touch, all of this strangely excited me. I hastily pulled my hand away and took another big sip of water. Our conversation was becoming more and more relaxed. Intoxicated by the intimate talk, we seemed to forget our relation to each other. Only on the edge of my consciousness did I note that the guests had already left, and Jessica must have gone to bed, deciding not to disturb us. Anna told me about her childhood, unfulfilled dreams and hopes. There was sadness and a kind of doom in her eyes. "You know, I once wanted to be an actress, can you imagine?" she admitted with a bitter smirk. But my father was categorically against it. In his opinion, it was an unworthy profession for a decent girl. "You would have been magnificent on stage," I said sincerely, and then caught myself, feeling my cheeks flush. Anna gave me a long look from under her half-lowered lashes. "Do you really think so, Daniel?" she purred, tilting her head slightly. Her red curls softly cascaded over her shoulders. "Or do you just want to compliment me?" I swallowed, my mouth suddenly dry. When did this innocent conversation turn into something more than just a conversation between relatives? But there was nowhere to retreat. "You are a beautiful woman, Anna," I squeezed out, surprising myself with my boldness. "I'm sure you would have been brilliant in any role." Her eyes flashed with triumph. She leaned forward, almost touching me with her breasts. I keenly felt the heat emanating from her body, caught the subtle scent of her perfume. My head spun and I gripped the edge of the table, trying to keep my balance. "And you know what role I'd like to play now?" Anna whispered, scorching my earlobe with her breath. "The role of a seductress who drives a naive young man like you crazy." With those words, she pressed her lips to mine in a hard, demanding kiss. Her tongue invaded my mouth, insistently exploring, subduing. At first I was startled, but then, as if obeying some unconscious instinct, I began to respond to the kiss, our tongues entwined in a frenzied dance, teeth nibbling at swollen lips. Then, everything merged into a continuous whirlpool of fervent kisses, shameless caresses, and muffled cries of pleasure. We made love right there, really fast, on the kitchen table, sweeping the remnants of dishes and a decorative vase of flowers to the floor. Culmination overtook us almost simultaneously. For a few minutes we lay catching our breath, not breaking the embrace. Gradually, consciousness began to clear, and with it came the realization of what had happened. What have I done? How could I succumb to this madness, sleep with my own mother-in-law? I shook with horror and disgust at myself. With trembling hands, I grabbed my scattered clothes and, without even looking at Anna, rushed out of the kitchen. The following days turned into a real hell for me. Anna acted as if nothing had happened. She was friendly and amiable, not hinting at our fleeting affair with a single word or gesture. I, on the contrary, became nervous and twitchy, shying away from every rustle. Jessica at first did not notice anything, absorbed in pleasant chores and memories of our anniversary. She glowed with happiness, sharing the details of the celebration with her friends. But my gloom and taciturnity could not escape her for long. "Dan, are you all right?" my wife asked sympathetically when I once again flinched at her touch. "You haven't been yourself lately." "I'm fine," I said through gritted teeth, just feeling a bit under the weather. I was already ready to confess everything, to repent of my sin, to beg for forgiveness. Imagination painted terrible pictures: scandal, tears, divorce. Would Jess be able to forgive me for this betrayal? And with whom? With her own mother. A phone call pulled me out of my sorrowful thoughts. Jessica picked up the phone and listened attentively to the person on the other end for a few minutes. Finally, she put the phone down and turned to me. "That was Mom," she said in an inscrutable tone. "Inviting us to a family dinner next week. Said she has some important news." My insides plummeted. Anna wouldn't tell her daughter about this, or... A cold sweat broke out on me. What if she was pregnant? That thought terrified me to the depths of my soul. "Honey," I stammered, barely moving my disobedient tongue, "maybe we should skip this dinner. I wanted to take you to a restaurant this weekend." Jessica raised her eyebrows in surprise, but then beamed a smile. "A restaurant sounds wonderful, dear. Thank you for the invitation, but Mom will be upset if we don't come. Let's visit them anyway, okay?" I had no choice but to agree. All week I was beside myself, sometimes cowardly hoping that something unforeseen would happen and the visit would be canceled, sometimes falling into gloomy despair. The only ray of light in this pitch darkness was a visit to the family doctor, who, after an examination and tests, assured me that I was fine. However, it did not make me feel any better. And now the hour of reckoning had come. We drove up to my in-laws' house, and Jessica, chattering happily, headed for the door. I trudged after her like a condemned man to the scaffold. When Anna opened the door for us, smiling affably, I broke out in a sweat. Her attentive, examining gaze focused on me, as if trying to penetrate the very essence of my being. The evening dragged on painfully slowly. I tried my best to avoid being alone with Anna, engaging in conversation with Richard about his golf hobby. But I couldn't help but feel the weight of her gaze, the unspoken question in her eyes. After dinner, as Jess and Richard cleared the table, Anna suddenly announced, "Daniel, could you help me in the kitchen for a moment?" I froze, my heart pounding wildly. Jess, noticing my hesitation, gave me a puzzled look. "Go on, honey. I'll finish up here." Left with no choice, I followed Anna into the kitchen. As soon as the door closed behind us, she turned to face me, her expression unreadable. "We need to talk," she said softly, "about what happened between us." I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. "Anna, I don't know what came over me. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake." "I'm so sorry." She studied me for a long moment, then sighed. "I'm not going to pretend it didn't mean anything, Daniel. I've been attracted to you for a long time, but I never intended to act on it, to betray my daughter's trust." Guilt and shame washed over me in waves. "What do we do now?" I asked hoarsely. "Do we tell them?" Anna shook her head. "No, it would destroy our family, shatter Jess and Richard. We have to keep the secret, take it to our graves." I nodded, relieved and sickened at the same time. The burden of this truth would weigh on me forever, a constant reminder of my weakness and moral failure. "But Daniel," Anna continued, her voice low and intense, "you must promise me that it will never happen again. We have to put this behind us, focus on being the best spouses and parents we can be." "I promise," I whispered, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. We returned to the dining room, composed and calm. The rest of the evening passed without incident, filled with laughter and light conversation. But beneath the surface, a new understanding hummed between Anna and me, a shared secret, a pact of silence. As Jess and I drove home that night, she reached over and squeezed my hand. "I'm so glad we decided to go," she said warmly. "It meant a lot to Mom and Dad." I forced a smile, my heart heavy with guilt. "Me too, honey, me too." In the days and weeks that followed, life returned to normal, but something had irrevocably shifted within me. Every time I looked at Anna, I saw not just my mother-in-law, but a woman with desires and regrets of her own, a woman who had chosen to sacrifice her own happiness for the sake of her family. And so I too would bear this cross, this secret shame. I would love Jess with all my heart, be the best husband and father I could be. But deep down, in the hidden recesses of my soul, I would always carry the memory of that one forbidden moment, that brief and passionate transgression. It was the price I had to pay for my betrayal, the burden I would shoulder for the rest of my life, a constant reminder of the fragility of trust, the steep cost of desire. As I lay in bed beside my sleeping wife, I silently vowed to never again let temptation lead me astray, to honor and cherish the love and loyalty I had been blessed with. It was a hard lesson, painfully learned, but perhaps in some strange and twisted way, it had also made me a better man. A man who understood the true value of family, of fidelity, of the sacred bonds that held us all together. With that thought, I closed my eyes and let sleep claim me, ready to face the challenges of tomorrow. For better or worse, this was my life, my path to walk, and I would do so with my head held high, my heart true and steadfast. Even if, in the quiet depths of night, the ghost of forbidden passion still haunted my dreams, a bittersweet reminder of what could have been and what must never be again. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.